Yeah, absolutely. I think, again, and that's one of the things that we're doing here in Mesa is we're looking at recognizing and identifying the emotional intelligence, where a newly hired officer or recruit is, and assessing that. And then we are working on developing programming to help them increase that, not just during the time of their during their academy training, but throughout their career. And yeah, it definitely plays into, you know, is it important outside of work? Absolutely. Your relationships, your personal relationships with your family, you know, your recognition. And again, this goes back to the self-awareness. Um, Self-awareness, like what is it that makes you tick? That in itself is probably the most fundamental piece for me, and probably the most important, right? If I don't take care of myself first and foremost, how can I be there for others? How can I be there to help others? So the interpersonal piece of that is critical for me. I know when I leave work, when I'm out of work, I need me time. Now, me time sometimes that means I get home, I get changed, and I go out to the ball field and I coach for a few hours, 2, 3 nights a week. Sometimes me time means going for a ride, going four-wheel driving for a couple hours up into the mountains, which isn't that far away from where I'm at. Um, Sometimes me time is me going home and just putting on like a TV show or something, like a series on Amazon or Netflix, just to kind of create some separation from the work experience for that day, the stressors of that day. But most importantly, I think, how emotional intelligence comes into play for me outside of work is the interpersonal piece. The interpersonal piece is understanding, knowing where I'm at, and recognizing where I'm at, and then engaging others and recognizing that they may not be in a great place. Maybe they're in a great space, maybe they're not, but evaluating that with my own recognition of where I am, and assessing what I can do to be more productive and or positive in that relationship. It could be my wife, my kids, my neighbors, uh, whatever it may be, but recognizing the importance of trying to maintain positive vibes, if you will, keeping the foot moving forward, um, finding that sense of being and that sense of purpose in everything you do. And I'm not that guy. I mean, I'm a commander now, right? So I have 150 in my command, but I've been doing this for 27 years. For a long time, like I said, I was an operator. I was working, managing squads, high risk, high frequency type squads, as a sergeant, as a lieutenant, and I've always been in the game. I've always been in the fight. So with that being said, I've been in a lot of critical incidents. I've been exposed to a lot, and I recognize that there are times when really bad things happen, and we're witness to really bad things. It's the acknowledgement that that's part of our role, that we're the ones that have been called upon to handle those situations. We have to acknowledge that. We have to, if you will, role play those types of scenarios before we ever encounter them. And that's what we're doing here at the Academy now, is we're creating a myriad of scenarios so that our new recruits, if they haven't, they're going to start role playing these scenarios in their heads, these types of scenes. So when they do come across them, they're not in shock, they're not in awe. And being able to deal with those types of situations, and then going back into your private life and dealing with your spouse, your children, your parents, family, friends, whatever it may be. You have to be aware and understand that what you deal with and what you experience, not everybody can handle. And that in itself is a lesson to be learned. Because I remember early on in my career sharing a story with a group of people that couldn't stomach the first part of it. And I quickly recognized I probably need to leave this in the shop. But just acknowledging that what we deal with is not always normal, and that's okay. But that's why we're there, is to deal with the not normal stuff, and to understand that when we leave and we go into our private life, when we leave the job and we go into our private lives at the end of shift, we need to be able to put that into perspective. And how you put that into perspective, everybody's kind of, they've got their own way. There's a lot of people out there that have a very strong faith, and they put their faith, into play on a regular basis. There are others that I'm sure they probably have other ways of dealing with it. But, it's important that you recognize, you become self-aware of how the chaos can imprint on you. And by acknowledging it and dealing with each scene or each scenario on a case-by-case basis, and acknowledging it, not ignoring it, but acknowledging it, and paying what respect you can to that situation. This way, it doesn't carry you, you don't carry it forward with you. You're able to navigate past it so that you can have more productive relationships outside. But, the human intelligence, the intrapersonal piece, is extremely important, because you got to be aware also that sometimes you may be coming off a certain way that you don't realize because of your experiences. And you have to be able to recognize the emotional, the reactions, whether it be physical, verbal, from those around you, that are telling you that you're actually different than what you think you're portraying. So that's kind of where I think I think it's extremely important in every aspect of my life at this point. So I think that ability to understand and to recognize where you're at and what affects you and how it affects you, and being able to have some coping skills, is extremely important to ensure you have a healthy and happy life, both at the job and outside the job. Physical fitness is, I didn't bring that up as a coping skill, because that has always been a main part of my life in terms of how I live my life. So I try to maintain a healthy lifestyle. I try to stay fit. I can't tell you that I eat healthy all the time, because I just had a double cheeseburger with bacon because I just was craving it. But I know I'm going to be putting in a couple of miles after work today. But that's my balance, is I recognize